touched on this last week when the reports came out towards the end of last week that Taylor Swift had turned down an opportunity to headline the Super Bowl halftime show. Makes sense. Arguably the biggest music artist going right now, hugely profitable tour, at or near her peak. Don't want to count her short. She still has plenty to go, but and it's in line with the recent efforts that the Super Bowl halftime show has made, which is more contemporary acts after getting a lot of guff for older nostalgia acts year after year.
How long they go with the old? They went The Who. What else did they do after that?
The Who was basically the tipping point. I think they did Bruce. They did Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, which was actually one of my favorite halftime shows ever. And I think what was it? It might have been the Who.
That was the last one.
That was a tipping point. They did McCartney.
That was here in Miami.
Yeah, they did U2 in 01. And it was a thing. The Super Bowl halftime show was always an older act, and people became disinterested, and they decided to get more contemporary acts, and that's the place that we've occupied here, where it's basically hottest pop act, be it Katy Perry, be it Rihanna, like they're going to go with that. And even in a couple of years, maybe we'll look back on no insult to Katy Perry, but even now it's kind of weird that Katy Perry was at a level that she headlined a Super Bowl halftime show, and that's what you risk when you just go all contemporary. I don't mind it. Lady Gaga, Rihanna last year, I've enjoyed the contemporary pop acts, but I'd like a mixture of it. And the efforting to get Taylor Swift, while I get it, she's so gigantic, her and Beyonce occupy this super stratosphere that you almost have to make an effort there. And I think Taylor Swift, and the report coming out, was basically all the parties knowing that they had to at least make the offer. Otherwise, they'd be dragged on social media by her fan base, by other people. So you have to make it at least appear that you made an honest effort there. And Taylor, I think, did the NFL a solid by turning it down, because it would have been a ticketing nightmare, given what we know about the Taylor Swift tour and Ticketmaster and all the issues that they've run into. Can you imagine if Swifties and corporate football partners and football fans alike collided trying to get these tickets?
That would have been awesome. Like a fourth quarter of the stadium's empty because it was all Swifties at the game.
They
And after
all
halftime,
leave.
they're like, nah, we're good.
It's
Or like in the middle of the third quarter, everyone's just singing, we'll never ever get back together. Like that would be amazing.
It's probably for the best for all parties that they at least let's let this thing cool down a little bit. Maybe not while she's actively touring. Maybe when we want to start it back up. But all the other backup options occupy the same kind of pop culture spot. It's been reported that Miley Cyrus is now in the mix. Prior to her latest controversy, I read that Lizzo was in the mix. You can take bets. You can take bets on this. You can take bets, and there's action on it. And there's one act that I would love to see headline the Super Bowl halftime show that seems like such a slam dunk.
All right, let's say it at the same time.
1,
3, 2, 1.
2, 3. The
Drake,
Killers.
Blue Man Group. Oh.
Why not Drake? I love the Killers, but why not Drake?
Drake is a good option, but the Super Bowl is in Las Vegas.
Sam's Town.
And this is the first Super Bowl that's ever happening in Las Vegas. And I do like when they kind of tie in the host city to the story and to the halftime show. And the Killers are one of the rare rock bands
My favorite.
that has mass appeal.
Yep.
It's one of the few remaining actual rock bands, right?
Mr. Brightside is, I think, 20 years old, and it's as popular as it's ever been. It's one of the biggest songs ever. It's basically a generation Sweet Caroline, and it's a huge monster track. They're this active touring band. They're constantly making new music.
Great leading man. Great front man.
It's relatively ignored. When the only time they really ever pay attention to rock music in the Super Bowl halftime show is when it's been a nostalgia act. We're a couple of years away from maybe the Killers being considered a nostalgia act. For some, they may already be there. And it'd be a really cool cap off to a wonderful career. I'm not writing them off. They also have plenty in front of them. But it would just be so natural. It would make, I think, generally everybody happy. They're inoffensive.
You could also mix guests. You can have some cameos in there, and because they're rock.
Yeah, they've done
but
that
they're,
before.
They're poppy, right?
They've done that before, where the Red Hot Chili Peppers joined a Bruno Mars halftime show.
But I'm saying the Killers lend themselves to that. They'd be fine mixing with a cameo here or there. I like that.
It is such a perfect act for Las Vegas. And they've been doing it for so long. They have so many hits, and they're carrying the banner for rock music and a genre of music and an age group that's largely been ignored recently when it comes to booking these Super Bowl halftime shows. it seems to be a huge slam dunk, and yet it's not even being considered when it's in Las Vegas.
I couldn't agree with you more, in particular because the Killers are a band that headlines festivals a lot of the time, so they're used to playing this type of environment where they're playing to a massive crowd that, you know what, maybe 90% of the people aren't here to quote-unquote see us specifically, but we have the hits that'll carry it forward, and they're one of those bands that has so many more songs than you realize you know all the words to. Like, there are so many great Killer songs, and like you guys mentioned, with them being from Las Vegas, you could bring in all of those other Las Vegas acts that they could potentially play to. It makes so much sense, and it differs from what these last number of shows have been. The last band, quote-unquote, to play one of these Super Bowl events was Maroon 5.
Yeah,
and like Killers, that was missing the
awful.
mark completely. Where the Killers do the opposite. They bring everybody in, where Maroon 5, I feel like, isolated most of the audience.
You guys just had, what was it, The Mentalist on last week? What if you change up a halftime altogether
Yes.
and give me like a magic act?
Yeah,
I love it.
Well, if you go back to Super Bowl halftime shows, I think there was a stunt show once. I think there was an Indiana Jones stunt show that was a Super Bowl halftime show. It's actually a relatively new phenomenon, the big production of a Super Bowl halftime show. I think when the Patriots and Green Bay Packers played, it was the Blues Brothers.
Right.
It wasn't this huge marquee act, but we've gotten in there and it's become the staple of the Super Bowl recently, and it's a good pop culture moment. I'm with all of that, and I think that the Killers are the rare rock band that can actually make it work, that can be validated in that slot.
Or we combine the two, bring in the magician, right? Taylor Swift does a song, boom, make her disappear.
Yeah.
And then the Killers come on, and you kind of levitate them while they're performing. I think that would be the most amazing halftime act of all time.
That would be killer.
No. Beyonce is on the betting lines as well, and Beyonce just recently did this.
Yeah.
We
don't want her again.
I think
as much as we love her.
I love Beyonce, and I'm sure she'd knock it out the park, but I'm also not ready to just bring that right back.
Right.
I think that there should be you should not be able to do back-to-back halftime shows. You should not be able to do a halftime show within 10 years. Mm-hmm. There's only one of those gigs every year. And I like that sometimes it tells the story of music at that point in time. But there comes a time where it should be a career achievement, especially when it's in that act's hometown.
Okay.
It is a natural. Taylor Swift can headline the Nashville Super Bowl when they inevitably build their new stadium that's publicly funded. They did that in an effort to get Super Bowls. She should absolutely headline that Super Bowl, and that should be her
I
Super
will
Bowl.
say hometown for Vegas is kind of tough. You got a bunch of celebrities that have residencies there, like the Killers and Vegas. Because you think of Vegas and you think of a bunch of celebrities. And I think of all celebrities going there, you know, for their own to celebrate, to have a good time. But honestly, why not Drake? Why has that not been a discussion? Is he not even considering that? And you talk about career achievements, like this man is the most popular artist, probably more than Taylor Swift, when you consider like everybody that listens to him. I just saw a video the other day of golfers, international and American, finishing Drake lyrics. Like,
That was
I don't
impressive
think
by
they
the
can do
golfers.
that. I don't know if we have that sound, but I don't know if everybody can do that to Taylor Swift.
I'm not saying that
necessarily.
Drake shouldn't headline a Super Bowl halftime show. I'm saying that this is the Killers' one shot at the night. They can only
That's
do
a
it in
killer
Vegas.
song, guys. Shot at the night.
They can only do it in Vegas. It's the only place where it makes sense, because you can make the Drake argument in any other town, and I'd fold. It's a good argument. He's got mass appeal. He's this record-setting artist. That's what the Super Bowl is known for. But there's two rock bands from Las Vegas, and the other rock band has even more mass appeal, and you don't want Imagine Dragons on that wall.
And I'm sure Brandon Flowers is thinking, if you guys are here with me, I can make you smile like you mean it. And I should be rewarded for all these things I've done.
Yeah. I've been told that Panic at the Disco is also from Las Vegas. They just did the thing where they announced a breakup. It's a breakup to make up, which is what a lot of bands are doing right now. We're going to take some time off just so when we come back, we can capitalize more. Because if you keep it going, it's hard to convince people that it's a big deal. I think Killers are right there on the precipice of maybe being this stadium rock band, the way that Coldplay became, the way that U2 is, the way that Red Hot Chili Peppers just graduated into. It's hard for a rock band to become a stadium act. Even the Red Hot Chili Peppers stadium tour, they needed acts like the Strokes. They really built out that card. This can help them get there. And every Killers concert I've ever been to, I've gone into, whether it be at a festival or when they're touring, I'm like, I've seen them a million times. do I really need to see the Killers again? They kind of got super popular, and they're not the band that they once were. And every time I go to a Killers show, I have the best time. I'm singing every song at the top of my lungs. I'm surprising myself at how much I know about them. They put on such a great show that it's no shame about it. I'm a Killers fan. They put on great shows. Give them this moment. They deserve it.
Greg, of all the bands, dead or alive, but let's probably stick to the dead, to the alive rather. Who would you want to see at the halftime show?
Wow. You know, as you were talking about the Killers, you had to sell me on the idea because I'm not a huge Killers fan. You know, other than Mr. Brightside, I don't know if I could name three other songs.
I bet you can.
Well, I might hear it and go, oh yeah, I know that song, and not
Somebody
even
told me you'd be able to.
I'm not a soldier. I've got soul, but I'm not a soldier.
Is it
Okay,
possible
all right,
you
yeah,
guys
yeah.
just like the Killers? Like, Roy, how often do you have conversations about the Killers?
I don't know who they are.
I would like to have seen Taylor Swift.
Soul, but I'm not a soldier. I've got soul, but I'm not a soldier. I've got soul, but I'm not a soldier.
Wow. Circumcised
No.
and no nuts.
Wow, that's a high pitch
that
right
is-
there.
That's how hard. I nailed that. Didn't crack.
Yeah, you did.
It's impressive.
Okay.
Brendan Urie, is that the Panic at the Disco?
That's Panic at the Disco.
right. That's the lead singer,
Brandon
right?
Flowers is the
right, no,
Killers.
I knew that. He is the most talented male artist out there right now.
Brendan Urie.
Yes, Brendan Urie.
that is
I
a
would,
man.
I
That
would
is a
absolutely vote for him to just do the halftime show. on
He's a
his own.
talented guy.
He's an amazing.
His
talent.
voice is amazing.
It's actually been measured. Like he's got the highest range of anybody, the biggest range, largest range of anybody, any male performer out there right now.
That is a take.
It's a
telling
take.
Big range.
Pete Buttigieg sort of ruined Panic at the
Well,
Disco for a lot of people by using High Hopes as his campaign. And then it was a really corny dance that went to it when TikTok was first starting. And I think it kind of turned everybody off from Brendan Urie, unfortunately.
All right, I'm going to answer your question. I would want to see some iteration of Jack White perform at halftime.
He's not big enough, man.
I think he is.
not
I
big
think
enough.
he's bigger than the Killers.
Absolutely not.
I think Jack White.
This is the new and unimproved Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz. Gamble on by DraftKings.
Izzy, I'm a couple of weeks removed from saying that we go to that hard network out too much.
I know, and this is the interesting part. Like I'm not even trying. We're not even trying with Greg, and
He's walked into it today.
I did try that
Yeah,
one
yeah.
time.
one time I
But
tried the first time.
I
Literally the
couldn't
first
avoid the temptation given the subject matter that one time.
But it's the approach that Greg takes. He looks too quickly at the people across the screen, across the glass, and he doesn't look up at the clock. He looks at the clock last second, and he's already getting horned.
Right.
And so, yeah, you've got to work on your technique. You've got to look up and then back down.
Well, there needs to be a clock like right in front of me.
We've
Like-
done this before.
Yeah,
Damn
like-
Mora
Yeah,
had.
If
on
there
his
was a
head.
clock literally on that door,
You would have been looking at Chris.
because I'm swiveling between looking at you guys and looking over here, but I rarely think
You know,
to look up.
we all deal with that too.
Everyone's doing it.
We're all worried about the clock. We're all keeping that
No,
in mind.
that seat's
that kind of
positioned
thing. I
with
mean,
your back to the
apparently
clock.
I'm not worried about the clock. That's a problem.
Are you concerned about turning 69? Is that part of the problem? Do you
Wait.
just want to skip over to 70?
No,
If you had the option, would you just get to 70?
maybe I might actually.
How much would you pay to go back to 60?
How much would I pay? Probably $1 million.
Wow.
Wow.
So you got that.
You're solvent?
Sitting around.
Yeah,
You're solvent?
yeah.
All right. Good for you.
I'd probably.
Were you
spend,
were you cash solvent at 60?
Yeah, actually.
Wow.
Okay, Greg.
Yo, I don't want to. The Herald's paying you way too much.
No, it's not. Trust me, it's not the Herald. It's
My mom.
Yeah,
Yo,
You get
yeah.
an allowance?
I do. I should get an allowance.
Little sugar mama?
Yeah,
What kind of law does your wife practice?
insurance defense law.
So
that's
she's pro
that's a
insurance
juicy one.
If you
company.
slip at a mall, my mom will defend the insurance company that you're suing.
Yeah,
Oh.
Wow.
you know,
Perfect
you-
state for that, by the
you-
way.
You spill hot coffee on yourself and you sue McDonald's, and she goes to court defending McDonald's because you're an because you're
Kind of like I said with the
Whoa,
mall.
hold a cup of coffee for crying out loud. Don't spill it on yourself.
Wait.
It's
a
all
second.
perspective.
What if
But
you
there's a
really
lot of
slipped?
True.
Like a lot of my mom's trials end with settlement. Like people want
Yeah.
$5 million, and my mom gets them $200K.
Yeah.
Does that make her a good lawyer?
Well,
or
no,
a
she's
bad
Sounds
good.
like
lawyer?
she's
She's
one of
great
the
for the
villains.
insurance
Yeah,
company.
they love that. Yeah, settlement.
Gets
is
them
good.
down
No, but
to
a lot.
200K.
Trust me, I've talked to my mom about most people are genuinely seeking more than they deserve. Like my mom is not trying to screw people over. She's just
Oh.
this is what.
I'm sure they work hard.
Neither was Jafar.
$5 million to 200K is a big gap.
But what if you weren't actually hurt at that mall and you know?
Well, then you shouldn't even get.
There's
200K.
there's big stuff where you they private investigators. Oh, I saw you at the park, jump roping, and now you say your shoulder hurts. Like there's a lot that goes into this.
Does your mom hire private investigators to then?
I've said too much already.
PIs.
Said too much.
No, I more defense of the big corporations, I think, would be great. Yeah, in terms of getting the people on our
Mom
side.
walks around and says, these Amazon factories really aren't that bad.
Who's fighting for Amazon? Who's fighting for them?
You're only working 14 hours a day. I mean, there's
Happy
24.
birthday,
Isn't
Miss
10 enough for you?
So $1 million.
Well, am I alone? Like,
In this
I
room?
wouldn't have $1 million.
No, but
it'd be weird if I went to 60.
you're asking me a theoretical question. I think most people who get to be as old as I am would, if they were able to, would spend $1 million to be 10 years younger.
For $1 million, you got to get me back. You got to get me back to at least my 50s if I'm in your spot.
Really?
You're bargaining you're negotiating against yourself. You could have started.
Does your
less.
life happen as it was in the 60s? Like, do you still get the benign mass?
No, it's the new and improved me.
Yeah.
Going back.
Or are you
just-
aware
Yeah.
that the benign mass is coming? And then that would be, imagine that's a big relief.
Ooh, that would
like
be good.
family,
Yeah.
I'm going to have two major life events are going to happen to me
Right.
that otherwise would be scary. But just know it's benign. And also, I just fainted that one time at Jai Alai.
That's right.
I just got lightheaded because I was coughing so much
Yeah.
because of the benign
What a
mass.
horrifying picture that appeared in the highlight group chat of just minutes after that. The other just Greg, the four of us. It was me, Mike Fuentes, and Woody standing behind my dad 5 minutes after he just fainted.
Somebody took a photo of that?
Dad,
No,
you're,
no,
Dad,
we
you're
posed for a
smiling.
photo.
Like
Yeah,
we posed for a photo
We
with
took
you.
a family photo after
I thought you meant when I was supine.
after Mike Fuentes and I rushed to your side as your son, who I
Okay.
think you go far back with, just stood back in horror, understandably so. But it was a little weird that the two Mikes were the ones to spring into action.
Yeah, thank you both. I appreciate that.
I think I'm good at 46. I don't want to go back 10 years. In fact, I would probably wait till I'm 55 and just kind of stay there. Greg, you might want to go to 55 because that's when you get all the perks. of
I would
being
sell
old.
years of my life.
Really?
Okay.
I would sell. I'd sell 5 to 7 years of my life right now.
Listen, the
for a
40s
substantial
I like
amount of
this
money.
bargain.
You just
yeah.
had a child.
I know. I would sell it. I would sell it so that they'd be
your life.
financially secure.
Oh,
yeah.
not- oh, okay.
Okay.
So fast forward, you don't need to see the 2s and 3s and 4s, right? You just need to see the kids.
Well,
when they're at school.
they're in the cute years now. I would miss the cute years. I'm gonna get right into the.
You would
annoying
sell
years.
I'd
these
sell
years, the
back-end years.
prime years?
I mean, if it's for a amount of money that I will not make working for 20 years, yeah, maybe.
I will
To
sell
take care
the
of them,
next
yeah.
9 years of my life and just move into a 55 and older Margaritaville in Daytona Beach.
It's oddly beautiful, Billy, that you're willing to sell off your prime years to set up generational wealth for your family. It's brave. I would probably be a little bit more selfish. No, I can't sell those years because I want to experience them with you.
What if you were selling off the back end years? Like if you knew you were supposed to live to 90, how many of those years
Oh.
would you sell off?
10, easy.
No.
80
Yeah,
to
me too.
90, I'm not going to be doing anything productive.
No,
I'd
I'm
sell off
conf-
my entire 80s.
I'm confident I'm going to triple figures. I'm trying to get
Wow.
into
No
110s and walking when I'm that age.
Are
not
you Rob Lowe? Like, what are we doing?
I don't like
You're
this.
going to live to 110? There's no way.
That is what I call
I
my
want-
boat because we have a Robalo. I just call it the Rob Lowe. Sorry, side note.
I want
send
every
myself
bit
to
of this
penalty
life. I wouldn't sell off any years. I want to experience. Yeah, and look,
Really?
it isn't all
The
puppy
look
dogs
on your
and ice
face
cream.
tells me you're just not very happy right
No.
now. Why wouldn't you just sell off this year?
I'm not
Just
very
go ahead.
happy. Look,
Just
I'm on medication
give this
for
year
all
away,
of
come
this,
back
but-
next year, see how the Ozempic worked.
But there's a lot to life that is actually beautiful and wonderful, and I'd like to experience those beautiful parts. And yeah, there's
You
the
can still
crap
do
parts.
it at 110. You have so much
I think
wisdom.
so. I don't know what's. I mean, I think I have an idea of what's on the other side, but it's a good ride over here. So I'd like to stay here as long as possible. Please don't play this at my funeral. That'd be pretty sad.
So speaking of funerals,
As a mic put on my tombstone. I don't want to die. I'm very afraid of death. I don't want to die.
it kind of made me think of what I was talking to my sister about this the other day because I don't know if I'm claustrophobic. I've got a little bit of claustrophobia to me, but the idea of dying and being in a box underground, not really for me. Okay, the idea of dying and being burnt, not really for me. So what I want, Greg, and tell me if this is something that you think is possible. So
Taxidermy?
I want to, you can go ahead and put me in a coffin, right? A little window in the coffin, in the corner, or maybe on the side. You can put a piece of paper so you can't see into the coffin. I'm not trying to see people have people looking at my, decaying body. But I just want the note to say, hey, tear here if you can read this. Because who knows what could happen?
Yeah.
Who knows what could
Greg
happen?
Cody
And I
could
would
probably
like
take scissors to you.
open that up and have a little window. And so if you do that and put my coffin in like, I don't know, a third level of something, and just leave me up there. Just leave me up there.
Like a mausoleum?
Yeah, I guess. Sort of like an Egyptian thing.
Like a Home
right?
Depot, like where the overstock is.
But the important part is you need a window. I need a window in my coffin just so I know when I die, hey, I'm not going to be in this box. I'm going to have a little view, maybe something to see if I need to. That's how I want to, that's how I want to be laid to rest. And if my family does not respect that, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to have to outlive them all.
Haunt them.
I could haunt them. Greg, is that not a good idea? Do you not want a view?
Yeah, I
when
think
you
that's
die?
a pretty horrible idea, to be honest with you.
Speaking of death, I'm being told that we have the photo now of what. Well, now they said they'll get it in a second.
It's up there. It's up there on the
Now,
screen.
Here we go.
That's the photo of Greg. You actually look better today than
You
you did
look
back then.
way
But
better
granted,
today.
Yeah,
you
that was
just
not a good look.
Why
for me.
did you guys take a photo with him right after
a
he
good
fainted?
question.
Because we thought he was dead and then he was alive.
And is that
Just
Mike?
really
Are you
grateful
checking
he's there.
his pulse in the photo?
yeah,
is
that's a
Mike.
nice little Easter egg there that nobody else caught. That I am actually checking Greg's pulse there.
What's in my dad's
Is
left
that a
hand?
bunch of crunch? Is that a bag of bunch of crunch in your hand?
Yeah, I think it might have been.
This
Weekend at Bernie's
poor
over here.
guy's never gonna get
Health food.
respect. Like you're gonna die and your kids are gonna draw penises on your face and laugh and take pictures.
Chris 100% bought that shirt on Amazon, Chris Whittingham.
Yeah.
And Bunch of Crunch goes great in popcorn. If you've never
I'm a
done the
Reese's
Bunch
Pieces guy with popcorn.
Really?
Reese's I've never done the peanut butter flavor with
Greg,
popcorn.
Greg, you stared death in the face and you came out
I
the other
say
side
pieces.
better. You look so much better now than you did back then.
Lucy, you say Reese's?
I say Reese's Pieces, and I know
Reese's
it's not
Pieces,
right, but I
right.
still say it.
Yeah, a lot of
Pieces,
people
right?
do.
Yeah,
But
PC
I
culture is
just
ruining
say it
everything.
wrong.
The actual word of
I don't care.
the snack. Okay.
Reese's Pieces.
Reese's Pieces, I'm with you.
Right.
But yeah, Bunch of Crunch. Reese's Pieces, really? Peanut butter and popcorn?
It's fantastic.
So good.
Huh, I've got to try that.
Yeah.
Anthony gets mad because he gets M&Ms and he doesn't want to put the M&Ms in the popcorn because he says, A, they melt a little bit, and B, they come to the bottom of the bag. And I'm
Wait, but
just
you're
like, well,
pouring your Bunch of Crunch in there? For
see,
me,
that's
it's
the best
always
thing
a
about
two,
the Bunch of
For me,
Crunch
it's a
because-
two-reach experience. It's popcorn into the mouth, candy,
Nah,
chaser.
that's unnecessary.
I chase with the candy.
It's too much. And that's a good way to do it if you're going to do that. But the key with the Bunch of Crunch is it floats in there with the popcorn because it's got a very light weight to it.
Yeah.
So you grab a handful. Hey, maybe you're eating popcorn, but every once in a while you get like one or two Bunch of Crunch in there. You don't know that it's coming. It's amazing.
That photo of us all at Highlight was in my feels, not just because it's a photo of friends
when
hanging
we were
out.
good,
We weren't. That was from the
That's true,
spring
that's-
season. We
yeah.
weren't very good there, but highlight season is upon us. It's in a couple of weeks, and the excitement is palpable. And I just saw that Battle Court, which our Cessa Cyclones compete in and won a previous championship in, is now available for wagering on DraftKings Sportsbook.
Wow.
I actually had a friend ask me, not a friend, a relative, ask me if I can take them to a highlight game. Is it a game?
It's a party. Yeah.
And they had no idea that you guys were owners, just completely random. And I'm like, I know the perfect guy.
Yeah.
When is opening night?
Udonis has
I
it.
want to be there.
Season starts, September 8th? I think this
It's Friday, September 8th. The Chargers versus the Renegades. The Magic City Front.
Lifestyle Miami
The owner
Chargers
has
are
no idea.
nah, I knew. I just,
Lifestyle Miami Chargers. So the big matchups are always
delegate.
Friday. That's when they invite the public. The season
You guys
goes
play
beyond
on
that.
Monday.
Yeah, we play Monday. You can watch
Devils
that.
versus Cyclones. That's a big one.
Yeah, that's Jorge Masvidal's the Hada Devils.
and it's the
against us.
battle of Douglas and Manu, the guy we took first overall and the guy we were thinking of taking first overall.
So they don't let fans in on a Monday?
No, you're not allowed to be there on Mondays or Tuesdays when they play the other matches. Fridays is when they invite the public to it, and it's basically the highlight version of Monday Night Football. It's a big deal.
Big deal.
Yeah, it's a huge deal. I think what's our first Friday game? Is it
made my
against the
dad
Wall
faint.
Warriors?
It's such a big deal.
Yeah.
I got to look at the schedule.
You don't play on Friday until the 22nd, where you play the Renegades.
Yeah, but
Road game, it looks like.
we're
So that's opening
we're
night.
plus 450 to win the league this year. Now, I don't bet on highlight. I'm an owner. I respect that. It's a very simple rule to not break. I follow it. But Plus 450 made me encouraged. We're the same price as the Devils, which
Is
actually
that a rule?
Yeah, you can't bet on it.
No, I didn't. I was just making sure.
I mean, I love the highlight talk. Billy, can we go win-loss for the rest of the season?
Oh,
please? Go
for
ahead
the
and get started
cones?
for us.
I'd love to. All right, so game 1, Devils versus Cones. What are you guys thinking?
This is the new and unimproved Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz. Gamble on by DraftKings.
So I didn't want to do the thing where I was just complaining about where the hell Stugotz is because, my goodness, where the hell is Stugotz when Dan needs him,
A lot of off time.
right? Almost as much as Jess. But what I did decide to do is do his work for him because, oh, wait, by the way, Greg, do you have it back in my day?
I do not.
Yeah, I didn't think so. So I decided to do
a Tuesday.
Stugotz's work for him and if Mike Schur can do it, I can have some observations.
It is time for
Izzy
to share his game notes. No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my boy.
Izzy.
Dan, that takes a long time. Just when you thought it was gone forever. Just when you thought that the Pablo Torre hire and a little dose of David Sampson and the occasional parachute from Dominique Foxworth would solve all the concerns you had about taking time off when you need to or leaving the show in good hands whenever it is that you decide to actually enjoy your life. Just when you're feeling good about leaving the show younger and smarter, that's when the crew introduced a segment called Roy's Top 5 Fonts. And Dan, just like that, make no mistake about it, enormous fear about the future of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is back.
You can add Highway Gothic to that list.
Highway Gothic, I will not.
Still,
Top 5
goes in there.
fonts. Dan, in case you didn't listen, none of them had serif. All sans serif.
Goddamn right.
Not a single hint of serif. Hey, Roy, stop being a font racist. You know what the Y in Roy stands for, Dan? It stands for Y's look great in fonts with serif. You serif hater.
Whoa!
Sater. Speaking of Sater, Juju. Low-key the funniest dude on the show. Revealing that he was in a movie, The Blind Side, and got to curse out Sandra Bullock's character as lewdly as he wanted to. Salute to you, my mother brother. I'm not certain what I did there, but I feel like I would have a good time cursing out Sandra Bullock. Top 5 famous people you'd love to curse out. Never mind. The OLIs alone would be too long on that one.
Where was Papyrus?
Not on there.
However, I would like to be acknowledged as the creator of the OLI. I'm telling you, if Stu were here, he wouldn't remember any of it because he's on too many drugs. But I would tell you, we were in studio together, he was making a list, without Dan, of course, and he said outside looking in, to which I responded, OLI. And it was the most genuine reaction I've ever gotten from Stu. He said, oh, I like it. And he kept it forever. Billy, don't look at me crazy. I invented the OLI.
He became a French chef?
No, he doesn't. Like, I like it.
Yeah, a French chef.
Look it up.
Where was Display?
Not on there.
What? Display's legendary. You grew up with Display.
Nah, I decided not to go with it.
Billy, find it. Look it up.
Find what?
I know it was back in the ESPN days. Blah, blah, blah. Find it.
The BCS
Acknowledge
started
it.
that, but it's
Because I gave it to them.
Okay, sure.
Where is Cam Newton tweet font?
Definitely not on there.
Watch out for the Mariners. Greg Cody, who I recently learned was almost as big of a fan of hardwood as I am. You were asked to help save Dan in a time of need. You had amazing talents like Pablo Torre, Dominique Foxworth, John Wiener, and Fart Bear, all deferring to you for your occasional, accidental, comedic genius. And then, when lobbed up an absolute meatball of listing your top 5 woods, not only does your impromptu top 5 include ply, but you don't include the most obvious of jokes and put morning wood in your top 5. Greg Cody, one of your original catchphrases on this decades-long running show, the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz, is baby. Because you and your horny-ass son can only think of sex and maybe sandwiches. And you couldn't
Baby.
come up with morning wood.
I know.
Greg Cody, you and your producer, Yeti Blanc, recently premiered a song on the Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody.
With
The song was about Greg Cody. It was called I'm a Morning Man. It implied that you prefer sex with Chris's lovely mom
Okay.
in the mornings. One would assume that that act still requires wood in your bedroom. Morning wood.
that's a good point.
And you didn't come up with it
You're right.
for your top 5 woods.
Coming on up.
Horny son, though, really?
Greg Cody, you're about as good at improvisation as your son Chris is at pronouncing words exactly right. Your son Chris, who also shares your poor improv skills. Your son Chris, who also believes that he can parlay those slight mispronunciations and poor improv skills into a successful stand-up comedy career.
I'm not doing the beep anymore.
Chris,
Whoa!
the Stugotz is strong in you,
Good levels, Roy.
but the Brad
Hey, thank you.
Williams is small in you. Dan, you know what the H in Chris stands for? Did you know there's an H in Chris?
I did not.
You know what the H in Chris stands for? Not ha-ha. That's what the H in ha-ha Clinton Dick stands for,
It's an
actually.
ironic sentence.
Speaking of... Sorry, that was yesterday. Never mind.
It was today, too.
Speaking of not funny, death. Damn it. It's the worst. August 1st, 2023, we lost a gifted, generous, giant of a man in Dan's brother, David. Dan Le Batard, staring right in my face during our South Beach Sessions chat and not breaking down in the slightest, despite going through so many heavy emotions at that very moment. Talk about a poker face. A big, round, fat poker face. By the way, I need to know if my South Beach Sessions did better than Beto's. I need to know which one did better numbers. If I did better numbers than Beto, I might run for president.
This is awkward.
I don't know how Dan does it. Goes from super serious to splitting laughing with no pause. But I'm going to try it by further addressing Dan's face. Can we talk about how white that little circle is around his mouth now? Have you noticed it?
Yeah.
I know he's had a bad year. I know he's been telling us basically every other segment since last football season. But I think we know how the stress is manifesting itself. He's going fully gray, mouth first. I guess that makes sense for Dan, given how much gas he lets out. And also how much food he lets in. Because look, I've always assumed
Is this a set?
that he's being honest when he talks about his food allergies.
You're doing a set.
But that math ain't mathing. Okay. Sorry, Dan. I'm sorry. Donut mouth. We love you. We miss you. Work in a salad.
A sit-down set.
Mike Ryan Ruiz. I see you're still in the oversized shirt phase of your body shaming experience.
This used to be an oversized shirt.
Mike,
No, it fits real.
you're not
well.
fat.
Yeah.
Mike, you're loved and don't need to be sad.
Look at these. boobs.
Mike, best of luck on Ozempic, I guess. Mike, stop calling everyone dicks. Mike, stop calling soccer games fixtures. Speak American, man. You can't hate your Americanness and your Latinness. You're the damn dirty demon. You have to play a side. Mike,
Beto did better.
you used the acronym DP when talking about soccer the other day. Had no idea it meant designated player. I knew it didn't mean
Dan Patrick.
double play, so my mind went immediately to another DP, and then I didn't hear another word you said. 10-Day Tony, a.k.a. 1000-Day Tony, a.k.a. the Ayo Police. Those folks offering you that plot of land in Georgia for $20,000 that you want to buy so badly because there's a dock or a dock option? Tony, those people are the ones with the business plan. What you have It's an imagination. A meh-tier imagination.
We have 2 minutes and 30 seconds left.
Your business ideas have as much depth to them as your top fives.
You gonna roast everybody today?
This is mean. This is mean.
If you do go through with
Any
it,
Women's
though,
World Cup in there?
I know a good wood guy. A couple, actually. Let me know.
Maybe.
Lucy Rodine.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Wow.
A few of my lesbian friends are patiently waiting to see if you graduate from Bumble BFF to something more. Not saying you will, or anyone on Bumble BFF will, but just wanted you to know some people are waiting.
That's flattering.
Lucy, Smetty, me, and my partner Anthony recently spent a lovely Sunday afternoon together. And while I'll fight anyone who says anything bad about Smetty, I am officially on Team Smetty Goes on Too Much Vacation. She chose Ireland over Israel. She chose the Golden Dome over this Silver Dome. She chose the Catholics over an agnostic, or whatever, who knows. That's cool. I'll just hang out with Lehman. Side note, that is the coolest thing about Jess. She let Chris Cody rename her boyfriend, no questions asked.
That's right.
And he had no complaints.
No.
That's right.
And she runs with it.
Classic Lehman.
Some say I was good at improv that day.
Maybe. Second coolest thing about Jess, her dog Willow. It's even whiter than her and Lehman.
Oh.
1 minute.
White Willow.
Wow.
White, 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 white.
Feels mean.
50 seconds.
Thanks for saying I'm not fat, though.
Stugotz offering to buy Lewis and just offer him some cushy job so he can have Lewis do whatever he needs him to do. Everyone in that room acted like it was a horrible idea. That's exactly what Dan did to Chris Cody.
Wow.
Isn't this the human trafficking we've been talking about all these years? All right. Hey, Roy,
Hey.
have you found a friend with a serif yet?
No.
Didn't think so. Also, Helvetica Ultra Light would like a word.
Overrated.
Thank you.
Overrated.
Speaking of hell, Art Briles.
Oh, Helvetica.
Dan,
And
are Izzy's
those
observations.
are Izzy's observations. I was going to kind of wait until like the last couple seconds, but now we have like 10 seconds just sitting here.
How much did that fumble bother you, Chris?
I hate myself.